Welcome once again to Umbawa Radio, where we support literacy and unrepresented authors. I am your host, Simone, and on this evening's show, we are very, very happy to have our special guest, Miss Altovise Pelzer. Let you fill you in a little bit this evening about Miss Pelzer. Miss Pelzer, CLC, host of Our Voice Matters on Wild TV and the hashtag Morning Press series on Periscope and Facebook, has become a published author in the year of 2016. Her most recently released book is the second in an 8-part series, Getting Through Difficult Situations, The Ripple Effect. This book is a follow-up to her first book, It's Okay to Cry. Altovise has learned firsthand what it means to live in difficult situations. Because of her life experiences, she motivates women and youth to find their unique voice. Welcome to the show, Ms. Altovise.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to have you this Sunday evening. I am super excited to talk to you about just your experience as a writer and just your journey as a writer. I just wanted to share that with that little blurb about you with our listeners. First of all, my very, very first question that I always ask each author on each show is, when did you first decide you wanted to be an author?
So I've always loved to write. And as a child, that was something that my grandmother instilled in me, was the love of writing. So I have books and books and books full of poetry, story titles, story ideas, but I never knew that it was something that you could get paid to do. Let me rephrase that. I never thought it was something that I could get paid to do. We know that we see those big name authors and they sell all of these books and things like that, but for me, it was like having that opportunity never really manifested itself until recently, but it was always a desire in my heart.
Okay. And doing this, becoming that process of coming to that realization, and like you said, to see if it was something that you really could be, you see people being paid for this, to see if you really could be paid for doing something like this. How did you decide on an idea for your first book?
So that's where the story, blows up, because it took me 8 years to finish my first book. And here it is, I'm about to publish my fourth book in less than a year's time. And so I really fought myself, even though I realized that I had a story to tell, even though I realized that I had something that people really needed to hear that could help somebody. Mm-hmm. I fought myself tooth and nail, from saying that no one would buy my book to saying these things to ourselves. And I think a lot of times that's the biggest battle, is that internal one. And so, who would want to buy a book titled It's Okay to Cry, which is the title of my first book? If people bought my book, it would only end up at the Goodwill or in somebody's yard sale, because I am an avid reader, and I'll go to the Goodwill and buy books upon books. And it was just in my head that that's where it would end. Not really focusing on the fact that somebody had to buy it first for it to get to that point, but having that in my head. And I think a lot of authors who have gotten something published have had that same struggle. Is somebody really going to buy it? Are people really going to be interested in what I have to say? Or the other big lie when it comes to being an author is that it's a saturated market, so there's already enough people doing it.
Exactly. I've heard that myself, to be honest. In the process of, and I read the blurb about a little bit about you and what's behind you and your books, your writings. What are some of the life experience that led you to the first book? what was it that happened that led you to put that into a book, into words, to write about it?
So the first book is about the process of me going through finding out that my daughters were molested, going through that process, no one ever knowing, because I had not told anyone, that I myself had been molested as a child. So I was going through it, and with some type of my own little secret. So it was something that I hadn't healed from, but now here it was. I had to go through this process of trying to heal them. And that whole idea of, as a parent, we never want our children to suffer. We never want them to be in pain. So, we're the mom that has the Band-Aids for days and the peroxide, and we have cough syrup. We have like a medicine cabinet in our pocketbook because we want nothing to ever happen to our children. And here it is, something not only happened to them, but it was something that I couldn't put a Band-Aid on.
Exactly. Something, I know the feeling as a mother, you can't fix it, and that's the worst. That's the worst feeling in the world. I know I have only one daughter. As to my knowledge, I don't think she's been molested, but there have been some things that have happened to her in her life, and it just was out of my control. And it's something I couldn't do anything about it, and I understand that feeling. It's like there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to help them work through it, like you said, to help heal them, to help them to go on. And I know exactly where you're coming from as a parent. That's the worst feeling in the world. It's not like a bobo, mama kiss it and make it better. That's just one of those situations. And
exactly.
And when I think about, you said your topic in the first book, what led you to it, do you think in the process in preparing and being apprehensive, and a lot of people have things happen to them, and I can vouch for that. My thing, being a first-time author and writing about my experience in my marriage, experiencing domestic violence, and I think my thing with me about putting it out there and sharing it with the world wasn't so much about making money off it, but once I put it out there, I felt like everybody would know what happened to me. And I think I still, at some level, I was still dealing with guilt and dealing with being, just ashamed about it. So even though it was a form of therapy, and since I've released that book, it has done work with me, the world of good. And I wonder, was that a little bit of what you think your apprehension was about writing to? Maybe, like you said, nobody knew of sharing that. Did you have to share that, what actually happened to you in your book? Not to you, but to you and your daughters. If it happened to them, it happened to you. You think that was a part of the apprehension of wanting to, to write that first book?
And yeah, I think that was a piece of it as well, because it was the idea that let's be naked. Let's take it all, let's be naked. Let's take it all out there. Put it all out there. We as women want to present ourselves as having the S on our chest. For our children, in our marriages, at work, that's one of the biggest things that we do, is we always want to present ourselves as having that S on the chest. We can multitask. We can do it all. And here it is. I was putting a book out there that said, guess what? I broke down. I had moments where I cried through the night because my daughters were having nightmares, and there was really nothing that I could do to save them through this process. And the process was going to go further than just that moment. And that's something that people don't realize when it comes to molestation and abuse, is that it's not a one and done. It's not, it happens and then you get over it. But see, the world from the outside looking in would think, oh, you just get over it. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Get on with life. Get up out the bed. But no, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. And there's different levels that we have to go through with forgiveness, with honesty. Honesty not just with those around us, but honesty with ourselves. Forgiving ourselves, because a lot of times we blame ourselves for the situation happening or for it being as bad as it was. that's that internal battle that we really have. But we as women, we really, really want to present ourselves always as having that S on the chest. And I had to get to a very vulnerable point with writing the book and being honest. No, I did not do everything right. No, I did not make all the right decisions. Yes, I slipped out on people. Yes, I fell out and cried. Yes, I thought I was going to pass out when I found out that it was both girls and not just one. Yet I went through all types of emotions. It's real.
You know what? As you were speaking about the portion about people, well, not understanding, from the outside, thinking that you get over it. I wish if you were near me, I would just shake your hand to hear you say that for this simple reason. In any abuse, whatever form it comes in, you just don't get over it. It's not something that you get over. Some people never get over it. I think it's something that you live with. But you understand it. But you have to go, like you said, steps. It's a process. I was somewhere speaking about my experience in domestic violence, and I remember this man saying to me, and I will never forget this. He said, "You ought to be over it by now." And I remember him saying that, and I told him, I said, "Let me tell you something. This is something that will probably stay with me until I take my last breath." I say, I'm better than what I was 10 years ago. I said, but it's a process. And it affects every relationship that you ever be a part of. And that not just the opposite sex relationships, but any relationships. It's about trust. It's just about accepting of embracing other people. And I'm glad you said that and I'm glad that you've written these books because it allows us to understand. Let me say another thing, and you probably will agree with this. Being a part of the African American community, we have a problem with talking about these types of things. We've known, take them and sweep them under the rug. But I'm so glad that you've written something that will allow people to read and understand that it's a process and this is something that they need to do. They need to talk about it. They need to forgive. They need to heal. So I give you kudos for that. It took bravery to do that, to be just completely brave and honest and, like you say, naked to do that. And this is what we need more of. And I'm going to get the books because this is something that needs to be. People need to read it. Just not myself, and if I can read it and share it and say, hey, this is something that we need to, especially as women, like you said, with the S on our chest, and thinking that there are a lot of mothers that are in your shoes right now. Let me ask you this: that first book, how long did it take you to write that book? How long did it take you to put it together and write it? Was it a long process, or like you said at the beginning, you struggled with it? But once you started, you got going. How long did it take before you got it together and got it published and out there?
So this is what happened. I literally was writing, the original title of the book was Press. Mm-hmm. And pressing through difficult situations. And I was writing and writing and writing and writing, and I would start and stop and start and stop. And like I said, I had a struggle, a battle with myself, because it was like, do I really want to talk about this? Do I really want to put this out there? Mm-hmm. And is somebody really going to get something out of this? And so it took me 8 years to publish the first book. But I'm going to tell you what God did. I love my God. I'm going to tell you what he did. So, I was struggling, and, I was typing up some stuff, and I was, putting it all together, and he just dropped it in my spirit that, someone may need the whole book, and that's okay. Somebody may want to read every part of it. But there's people out there that just need what each chapter was that I was writing. They just need that piece. And so he was like, so your first book is already done. And when I looked at it, literally my first book, the first chapter was already 10,000 words. My goodness. And I was just like, oh, okay, so let me get on the ball with that then. But definitely it was exciting because, it was like, here it was, I was thinking, again, we go with these stigmas and we go with these, these cookie cutter, what an author should look like, what a woman should look like, what a mother should look like. We go through all this cookie cutter stuff. And here it is, I'm looking at something and I'm like, okay, I can publish this, and this is a book. And not only is it a book, but it's a book that somebody may need. And so throughout the time, he had put people in my path that I would talk to about what I had been through, about what my girls had been through. And the response that I always got was, I've been there. This is something that's needed. I've been there. And the closer I got to that point when I finally said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and publish it, I literally had people connecting with me and saying, I've been there. I've gone through the abuse. Or I even had a woman explain to me that her daughter had become a very well-known stripper. And it wasn't until in her adult years that she found out that the daughter had been molested. And so, though that piece, see, we look at, again, the outward as human beings, we look at the outward appearance, and we look at the person that's addicted to drugs, we look at the teen parent, we look at the woman that's the prostitute or that may have become the exotic dancer, and we see, they may be looking for attention, they may be doing this, they need to just, again, get over it. But we never look at the real issue. We don't look at the real piece that's going on, what's going on the inside, what went on in their past. And so the biggest piece of what I gained from my process was literally, I tell people all the time, I help you to take the bricks from your personal prison and build a bridge, because the bricks are the divorce, the bricks are the rape, the molestation, the abuse. The bricks are when you were made fun of as a child. The bricks are when, your parents passed away when you were a child. The bricks were the fact that you were a foster child, that you were in the system. I mean, there's so many different bricks, and those bricks have been built around our heart, built around our self-esteem, built around our vision of how we see people, how we engage with people. And so my hope is that what I have will help push somebody past that.
And that's a tremendous, when you say all those pieces and put all those things together. And especially when you were talking about, we often look at and wonder why, like you said, people want attention. And I could think of so many things and so many people. Now you have me thinking and wondering what happened to them to lead them to that situation. Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Altovise. How did you get, from the first book, It's Okay to Cry, and then the second book, which is a part of a 8-part series, getting through the difficult situations? Is that still a part of your experience as dealing with your daughters, with them being molested as children, and also you said you discovered that you had been molested? Is this another part, a piece of that puzzle? There are 8 different pieces to this puzzle. Am I correct?
Yes. And so it's the 8 stages of going through difficult situations, realizing that the victory is not ours, the victory is not, the battle isn't ours, the battle is God's, the victory is ours. What happens in those alone moments. The second book in the series is The Ripple Effect. And the ripple effect is funny because I thought about the process of, everybody always talks about, the fact that Peter made it out the boat, but he sank. So they bypass the fact that he made it out the boat and just focus on the fact that he sank. Yeah. And when we look at people around us, sometimes we bypass the fact that they made it out the boat. We're just focusing on the fact that they sank. And so, that ripple effect, one thing can affect so many other things in our lives, from the connections that we make, the people that we speak to or don't speak to, the opportunities that we say yes to, or that we completely miss, everything is, connected in some way, somehow. And so the first one was It's Okay to Cry. The second part of that series is The Ripple Effect. Now, my second book was Define Your Voice. And I find with women who have gone through abuse, a lot of times we become silent. We become the people pleaser. We become the yes person. We become that woman that everybody can go to and ask for help, but you can't go to anybody because you don't want to burden anybody. You don't want to have anybody think less of you. You don't want anybody to know what you're going through. So you become silent. And we internalize a lot of stuff. We hold on to a lot of stuff. And so that's what Define Your Voice was. It was, finding that voice again, realizing that, you can break out and you can be a speaker, you can be an author, you can be an entrepreneur. You can use that thing that she went through, again, that personal brick, and build a bridge. And for some, it could be as simple as, I went through abuse, and when I bake, that makes me feel good about myself. So that's your voice. That's your story. And when you bake, that's what you're sharing with other people. So that's what your audience needs to know, is that that's a part of the reason why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes, indeed. It makes so much sense hearing you say it. So much sense. What you're saying, and I'm sure our listeners can relate to if they've ever experienced any form of abuse, or either have a child that has gone through some form of abuse, that they can definitely understand and know exactly where you're coming from. In the process of doing all of this, I'm looking at and I see some great women that you admire as your favorite authors, and actually one of them is we have in common is Dr. Maya Angelou, and also I see Michelle McKinney Hammond and Alice Walker. What is it about those three women, those three authors, that you think? First of all, what is it about them that's in common? They have to have a commonality, besides being African American, that drew you to them. Is it? I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's because of what Maya Angelou experienced as a young girl may have drawn you to her. I think that I may be wrong. So what commonality do they have that made them become your favorite authors? Or maybe they're completely different reasons why.
So it's their strength. And, sometimes, the story or the idea of the quiet storm. Mm-hmm. And so each one of them has been very strong, have been very powerful. They've made some amazing advances for women, for not just women of color, but for women in general. But it's that quiet strength. It's that I'm using my purpose, I'm using my passion to change the world. And so when I look at each of their stories and I look at the things that they've done, I'm taken aback, but I'm also encouraged, because I can look at them and say, if they have done it, then Altovise Pelzer, you can do it too.
Amen.
If Maya Angelou could go through everything she's been through and make it to being Dr. Maya Angelou and leaving a legacy, then Altovise Pelzer, you can do the same thing. And then I want to convey that message to my children. Then, showing my girls, because we all know that whole do as I say, not as I do thing don't work.
Firsthand.
Okay,
I know firsthand.
It don't work. It sounds good, though. It sounds good.
No, it's real good.
So
you're absolutely correct in that.
Exactly. Okay. They see us do. So if I'm setting the precedent and I'm setting the foundation that's saying, hey, I can do it, you can do it too. I can stand out and be different, you can do it too. I can, I can make some amazing advances and decide to work for myself, you can do it too. I've never been that mom that said you had to go to college. I was always that mom that said, if you want to travel, travel. If you want to go to college, go to college. Whatever you do, I want you to do it 100%. Don't do it just because that's what everyone else does. But I was saying it, but I wasn't living it.
Mm-hmm.
And so with me writing the books and publishing the books, I'm now saying it and doing it and leaving that legacy for my girls and for my son. And it not only, again, leaves that legacy, but it also shows them, don't just say it, but do it. I saw mommy go from that poverty mindset to being able to, leave her full-time job. I saw mommy be able, and they, of course they don't call me mommy. Well, they call me mommy now if they're being sarcastic because they are teenagers. But I saw mom go from, sleeping on a floor to make sure that we had beds to sleep in, to us owning our own home or, us having our own rooms. I watched the process.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that process that makes all the difference sometimes, because it's that process that makes it real for people.
And it does. And children, they watch us, and and that's why I've become, I've tried to, especially as she became, my daughter's a little older than yours. She's 23, but she's the only child. But and it's almost like I'm hearing myself when I hear you speak about, I never put that demand on her, go to college or you must go. But I always wanted her to do something that you are happy with doing, because if you do something that you're unhappy in, then you're just not going to be able to do your, like you said, your 100, give it 100%. And I've always encouraged her to be an entrepreneur. If that's what you want to do, whatever idea she calls me with, and I'm behind her 110%. I encourage her, like you say, to travel, see the world, do things, experience life, live life. Because I was married at a young age, and I was in my 30s before I started to live life. And I told her, I'd love for her to live way more earlier on than what, to be in your 30s and 40s and starting to live life and to walk into your purpose. But as, God has a many way of doing things. That was my story that he had brought forth for me. It was my journey, and my journey may be for her to learn from my journey, to see how things, like you said, going from being divorced, walking away from a marriage with absolutely nothing, but being able to provide for her to, have her own room, to have a house. Our stories sound so similar till it's almost it's unsettling hearing you speak about, your I call it a transformation, your journey, unsettling. But children watch, and I've always, like I said, I've always tried this to be an action. I call it inaction, doing something, showing her that I'm doing what I'm doing. And I appreciate seeing women like yourself, and not just only women of color, but any woman doing that for her children. That is the best gift that you could possibly give your child or your children, to let them see you do. And I would love to, those three authors who you admire, but on another level, in your personal, people that you in your life, who would you say would be the one, not necessarily a female, but the one person that inspires you, that you have saw as a pillar of strength in your life, that personally? Who would that individual be?
So I'm going to go all the way on this one. And I know she'll probably see the video later. She'll see this later. But my business coach. And okay. I've only been with my business coach for about a year. Mm-hmm. Since early 2016, but she's been here through this whole journey, from me publishing the first book. I've taken several of her classes, and oftentimes women in business, we think cattiness, we think we don't think collaboration, we think copycat, we think mm-hmm. people are going to steal our idea. But I've learned in working with her that there's a such thing as networking and collaboration with women. And it's not just women of color, but women of every nationality globally. There is a way that we can all collaborate, and even if we're doing the same thing, even if we're talking about the same topic, you're going to be different than me, and I'm going to be different than you. And so throughout this process, I've become the unicorn, and that's what everybody that knows me, that has been in class with me, they know me as the unicorn. When my coach goes live and I'm on her live stream, she says, "Hey, unicorn." So it's funny because, I had to get going through this process. It was like, I can't do this how everybody else does it. I can only be me. Because oftentimes we forget that if we try to do it how somebody else does it, we fail. We can't fill their shoes. Even if we have can we be honest? Even if we wear the same size. Even if we wear the same size, we cannot walk in somebody else's shoes. Because they may walk in 8-inch stilettos, and we need some fabulous flats. Can we be honest?
Oh, yes, we can.
We may not walk in 8-inch heels, but they look good.
That's right.
But that don't mean they for you. And
That's right.
So I love her personality. I love what she teaches us as entrepreneurs. I love what she teaches us as women. But one of the biggest things that has made an impact on me is that she has alopecia. Mm-hmm. And so that means that she loses her hair. Yeah. And she has bald spots in her hair. And so she keeps her hair shaved. When I first met her, she would wear wigs. And I know she's going to get me for telling this one. But she goes live on Facebook and on Periscope. And she had went live and had ended the broadcast on Periscope, but the Facebook video was still going on. And she had taken off her wig. And it was just, it was hilarious because of the face that she made. But she used it. Mm-hmm. And when she came back with her head shaved, completely shaved. And she is a beautiful woman. Her name is Danielle Winningham. Beautiful woman. She came back with her head shaved. She did a magazine photo shoot with her head fully shaved, no wig. Her makeup was beautiful. And she has not put that wig back on since.
Mama.
And so even with the bald areas, even with, with most women, we would have what? Because, yes, people laughed. We would have been humiliated.
Yes.
And was completely shut down. She
used it. Yep, she owned it and she used it. And, and that's definitely a sign of strength. That's a sign of strength. And it's a good thing we have as women. We have someone like that. And it's, as you said, there's so much pettiness and where we're unable to network and collaborate. And that's something I'm hoping as women that we can grow and get past, because so many great things that we could do together to make the world better, especially for women and also for our children, would be a great thing. And I'm thinking that just from listening to you speak, I'm quite sure you do quite a bit of maybe speaking yourself. Are you doing any motivational speaking, or are you speaking to the youth, or are you speaking to?
I'm excited. So I have done. It has just been phenomenal this past year. So I went from last year around this time, last March, I was doing my second ever teleconference. And I was super excited because it was my second time that I had ever done anything like that. I had led youth group at church and, things like that, but it had never been something on this magnitude for me. And I was super excited, and, had done the second one, and then I was preparing for a third one. And then here it is this year, I'm doing maybe about 2 live events per month.
Okay.
I'm doing telesummits. I'm doing, of course, interviews all over the place. But it's definitely a big jump from last year. And I love it. To be able to say that I'm able to do this full time now is an amazing feeling. Being able to say that I can be full time of standing in front of women and empowering them to get out of their comfort zone, empowering them to utilize, to define, to accept, and to use their personal voice is amazing, because for so long we've been told, sit down and shut up.
Exactly.
What goes on in this house stays in this house. We have our little sayings that has kept us quiet on so many different levels, even to the point of, if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Well, then am I just supposed to be silent when somebody does something I don't like? And we never really looked at, these sayings in that aspect, but really how did they map our futures? How did they, guide us along this path, along this journey? Do we really know 100%? A lot of times we don't. But we can spit out those little sayings real quick, can't we?
We put them out, and they stay and they stay with us for generations. I could remember my grandmother. If you don't have anything nice to say or good to say, be quiet. Don't say that. Or I hear my grandfather saying women should be seen and not heard. Just stuff like that. And it stays, and if you pass it on, it went from them to my mother's generation to my generation. But then, at some point in time, I've realized this, and I'm going to say this in my 40s, I've realized that I'm no longer silent. I say this all the time about myself. Most times I'll hashtag it, living out loud. And I'm going to live out loud. I was in a marriage that I was quiet for over 10 years, and I had no voice. So now that I have a voice, I seize the moments to have my voice be heard. And that's it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing when women like yourself that have become authors, and through your writing, you have that platform, you have that forum where you can assist women in finding their voice. That's what it is, finding your voice and finding out who you are and what your purpose is. And then once you realize that, you have no problem not walking into it but running into it. So that's what I look at it at that moment. And I know I'm quite sure, and I haven't ran across an author yet on this show since I've been host that has not had a book signing. And I find it very, very, I'm curious to find what is the most, I want to say, I guess unusual, I'm not going to say bizarre, most unusual venue that you've had a book signing. Is it something, out of the norm, the normal library, bookstore, anything outside of the norm?
So this is the thing. I have never done a book signing yet.
You are the first, sis. I'm going to remember this interview. You are the first. And there's nothing wrong with that. Is that something that you're interested in possibly doing, or?
Definitely. I was looking at what is more feasible with so many changes, especially that I'm always keeping up on what's going on, especially with technology changing as it has been. Do I want to do a virtual book tour? Do I want to do one in person? And, I always kind of moved away from doing the book signing because I live in a small town, like Farmville, small town.
Okay.
Like around the corner is a farm and orchard, and up the street and around the corner is a horse racetrack, and
Okay, yeah, you're in the country.
Right. So for me, it's never really been like, okay, go ahead and do a book signing, get it out there. But I've used social media very large. Like all of my book sales have come through social media for the most part, except for, I may sell some books when I go and do live events, when I'm speaking. But the majority of my book sales have all been from online, from going live on social media, because I do go live on Facebook and on Periscope, from, doing the live telesummits and, putting my information out there that way as well. But it's been all virtual. So I'm like, okay, so maybe I'll just do the virtual book tour, since that's more what I've been, I guess, comfortable in. But I don't want to leave out any live book tours. So that'll be coming, I think, over the summer.
Okay. That's, in the social media, a marvelous thing. It's an awesome tool when used correctly. I know it has really assisted me with growing my business. It's an awesome tool, and that's one of the things. As the business side of being an author, what is one of the most important things that you can think of a soon to be author or a brand new author? What is one business tip that you could give them, something that they should live by, from the business side of being there? Because, a lot of authors, you hear them talk, especially the brand new ones, or the ones that are in the process of writing a book, and then, they think everything is all glitz and glamour. You just put those books out there on Amazon.com and they're going to sell themselves. But, yeah, that's the first part of it, but the other part of it is the business side of it. So what is one tip that you could give some of these authors that may be listening in or soon to be authors about the business side of being an author?
So for the business side of being an author, my greatest tip would be marketing. Have a marketing plan. Because that is one of the biggest things, the biggest misconceptions about being an author is I'm going to put my book on Amazon and people are going to buy it, and then I'm going to be a billionaire by the end of the month. Mm-hmm. And although we wish it would happen that way, it does not happen that way. There is a marketing strategy that we have to have. We do have to continuously market our books. And, I tell people all the time, social media is an amazing tool. But if somebody goes to your page and you say that you're writing a book or you're an author, do they know that you're an author without them sending you a message and asking you? Are you presenting yourself on your page as an author? Are you presenting yourself on your page as a motivational speaker? If not, then you're using social media incorrectly when it comes to your business. Okay. You're a hobbyist. You're not in business. And, with a hobbyist, you take pictures. You might share something every once and again. You get excited about something. You might put it on social media. That's a hobbyist. But someone who has made being a speaker or an author a business, this is a business. And in making this a business, you have to market it like a business.
Yeah, it's about consistency. I see a lot of them. Sometimes I'll visit their pages on social media, and I see, it may have been 2 months ago they posted something, and and you have to, like you say, present yourself as an author, as a speaker, whatever it is that you're doing. You have to present yourself that way. So you have people that will follow. You have, I say followers, people that follow you on social media, and they're looking to see what's going on. You actually become a part of their lives. And another thing I want to say is that knowing how to separate your personal from your business. And a lot, I want to know what your thoughts are on that. You see a lot of people, they intermingle their personal. And let me say this: there's nothing wrong with. Sometimes, if you're an author, if you went on a vacation with your family or whatever, to place that on social media. But I see the author that I interviewed last week, she had insight on this also, about us having maybe a certain topic that you're discussing, or you may have had a question like I do, a question of the day on my page. And you have, everybody's not going to agree with you. And like she said, that back and forth with people on social media, that's something that we should not fall into or get into. What are your thoughts on individuals with, their personal lives and their lives with their businesses, with what they're doing, whatever their craft is, if they're author, if they're a speaker, about separating that?
So the biggest misconception is that my business page is my business page and my personal page is my personal page.
Mm-hmm.
Complete lie.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes to your personal page, what is stopping them from buying your products or services?
Exactly.
It's you. And so no matter what, all social media sites, that's what it should be. It's a business page, even if it's your personal page. So, yes, I may have things that I post when it comes to my children every once and again, but you're going to see topics that I talk about. So when it comes to sex trafficking or domestic violence or being a motivational speaker, you're going to see those types of things on my timeline. You're going to see quotes on my timeline. You're going to see videos of me speaking. You're going to see videos of my live streams on my timeline. You're going to see those things because that's what I do. But if you come to my page and that's not what you see, but in my bio it says that I'm a speaker, then how do you know I'm a speaker? And so one of the things that I challenge people to do is to go and Google yourself. Do a Google search of your name. Look at what social media sites come up. Are they all the same? Does it say that you work at McDonald's on your LinkedIn page, but say that you're a motivational speaker on your Facebook page, and then on Twitter it says you're an author? What is going on?
Yes, I understand. You have all of it has to. Everything has to be consistent. It's all about consistency, and that's what I try to explain that over and over to a lot of individuals. You know, sometimes I see young authors here where I live, and I have one particular one. I've taken her, kind of under my wing, and when I see that something that she's doing or she should do, and she'll tell you, I always, I'll message her, I'll text her, I'll say, hey, you should do this. Go back and look at what you did, and she's always so grateful. And as a matter of fact, I'm meeting with her tomorrow because we're actually collaborating and working on some things together for here. But it's great when you can do that. You can, I see that all the time where those little things, I Google myself all the time. But that's a great thing to do, a tool. And I do that too, Google myself. But another thing what does Altovise have coming next? What do you got coming up next? I know there's a new book coming. Am I correct?
Yes. So the new book is titled "Hold My Hand." And it stemmed from a talk that I did in January in New Jersey. And it was funny because originally I was supposed to have 30 minutes to speak. I found out maybe like a minute or so before that I only had 10 minutes. And
oh, my goodness.
With being a motivational speaker, with being a keynote speaker, you have to know how to transform your speech sometimes. Not only to fit your audience, because it may not be the audience that you thought was going to be there, but also with timing. You always have to, be able to switch it up. And so I had 10 minutes, and I slayed them in 8.
Oh, my goodness. You are good.
So I took a 30-minute speech and made it an 8-minute speech, and the response was amazing. I posted the video up on Facebook, and it has over 2,000, I think like almost 2,700 views on Facebook. And it was Hold My Hand. And I talked about this process of, as a child, there was a moment where I was in the mall with my mother. It was crowded. And it was crowded. We were getting on the elevator, and I turned around, and the elevator doors were shutting, and she was on one side, and I was on the other. And that whole process of, being in an area where it was people I didn't know, unknown faces, but, getting down to the bottom floor, getting off the elevator, I could hear her yelling for me to stay where I was, and a security guard came up to me and held my hand. They tried to talk to me. As a child, I didn't talk to nobody. I don't care who you were, security guard or not. Security guard or not. I don't know you, so I'm going to just look at you strange. But, the security guard, held my hand. And I said, us as women, especially when it comes to abuse, molestation, when it comes to sex trafficking, all of these things, all of us know somebody who has been affected, or we ourselves have been affected by abuse. And so we need somebody to hold our hand. We need somebody to be on that elevator with us, to know that in the moments when we get too scared to push the button to go up or go down on the elevator of life, somebody else is going to be there to push the button.
Love it. Love it.
And so that's coming out. Excited about that. That'll be out later this month. And then next month, a really big thing for me is I am speaking in Indianapolis. And that event is going to be phenomenal. 300 women, all in one place, all different backgrounds, all different mindsets, all different businesses, some without a business at all. And so the information for that is bit.ly/indie takeover, all lowercase. And it's going to be a phenomenal event. But, yes, I'm one of the main stage speakers for that event. So, of course, I'll have books on hand. I'll have a table. But it's seeing all of these women come together. And I did an event in Fort Lauderdale where I was one of the breakout speakers. And just seeing the whole room full of women, it's an amazing feeling. It really is.
I know.
Knowing that you can link arms with them, you can cry together, laugh together, and nobody's there to steal from each other or anything of that. We're all there to encourage and uplift each other. And a lot of bonds were made during that event. And it just takes you to another level.
That's an awesome feeling when you can get together, like you said, and link arms with these women in there from all walks of life. Oh, I know you're excited about that. I'm excited just hearing about it.
Yeah.
I'm truly excited just hearing about it. What are some of the ways that if someone that's listening would love to have you to actually get one of your books, of all of your books, they wanted to get you to something, a conference or something that they are hosting for you to come out and speak? Where can they see you? Your YouTube channel, if you have one. Where can they get with Altovise Pelzer?
So there's a couple different links that I have for you guys. So to look at all of my books, you can go to bit.ly/press series, PRESSSERIES. And that will take you to my author page, my author central page, and you will see all of the books that I have available right now. Also, if you would like to have me come and speak or host an event, contact me by email, contacts@altovisepelzer.com. We always respond back within 24 hours, less than that, but we always respond back within 24 hours. contacts@altovisepelzer.com. And then I have something for all of your listeners. So because you have listened to me ramble on today, I have something free for you guys. I want to give you guys a free copy of my second book on ebook, as well as a free download of a webinar that I did that was titled I Am Strong. And the link to get that is bit.ly/love my voice, and use coupon code UBAWA. And that is for any of the listeners, anybody who's catching the replay of this. You can always still go back and get that free download because, I know that we always want to be selling, but I want to give. And I think that, defining our voice is a gift that will keep on giving, because as each woman, finds their unique voice, then, it sparks something in them to help another woman.
That's the truth. Nothing but the truth. That's something and I applaud you for doing that, because so many, like you said, everybody's on that, that race to sell, and it's so awesome to be able to see someone giving back, and especially, you never know. One of our listeners may be listening in, and they're listening at you and listening at your journey and saying, wow, if she could survive it and overcome it and be able to share with us her journey, then maybe I can do the same. And that's what it's all about. And I applaud, again, I can't applaud you enough. I have really just listening to you speak and your mindset on what you're doing and what you want to do is simply awesome. I have really, really loved this conversation. And I just got to say this, each week it just keeps getting better and better. Better and better each Sunday with each author. And, you know, here at Umbawa Radio, we're just trying to support literacy, of course, but also underrepresented authors. That's the mission for this show. And, you know, and I can't, you know, say it enough. Support our authors, listeners. Support authors like Altovise Pelzer, and she's giving back. And I know you heard that she's just not taking in. She's not like a graveyard or a cemetery. She's not just taking in. She's putting something out. And I'm just excited to have had this conversation with you. And again, could you kind of let them know where they can go and get that free download, our listeners, so they can get on the Altovise Pelzer train?
Yes, indeed. So it is bit.ly, it's bit.ly/Love My Voice, and use coupon code UVAWA. And again, like I said, it's, you know, the free ebook download of Define Your Voice, and it is an audio file of a webinar that I did. It was titled I Am Strong, because sometimes we just need to realize our own strength in order for us to make that next move, in order for us to write the book or become the speaker or, you know, any number of things like that. So bit.ly/Love My Voice and coupon code UVAWA.
All right. And again, we've once again come to an end of another show, another fabulous show. And we've had Ms. Altovise Pelzer, author Altovise Pelzer. She has some awesome insight on healing and being on a journey to where we can become whole again. And it's just awesome, and I want you guys to go out and support her. I do have her website. I'm going to throw it out there again, www.altovisepelzer.com, and we'll go from there. And I want to thank you guys once again for listening in to Umbawa Radio. I'm your host, Simone, and it has been awesome. I want to thank you again, Ms. Altovise, for sharing with us. And it's not often that we get individuals to share and open up and let us know their, like you said, their secret things that have happened that sometimes are a little hard to share. So I want to thank you for sharing with our listeners and sharing with me what you've been through, how you've assisted your girls in becoming whole and healed. Again, thank you guys for listening in, and we'll be right back here again next Sunday. It'll be, I think, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, thank you for listening in. Good evening.